So 2026 is going to be the year you start riding motorcycles. I am pumped for you. I'm excited for you. But you have a question. What is that first riding season really going to feel like? What's it going to be like when you finally get your bike, you've passed the MSF, you swing a leg over, and you begin the journey? Well, it's going to be equal parts anxiety, frustration, self-doubt, but also so much excitement and anticipation and just new sensations. It's kind of all wrapped up in one. So today, I'm going to tell you what that first riding season is going to feel like from the hands of a pretty experienced motorcyclist, and that is yours truly. Let's swing a leg over our bike today, and let's go for a ride. We're aboard this lovely Moto Guzzi today. Let's start her up. That is a classic motorcycle sound if I've ever heard it. So I remember my first riding season back in about May of 2015, going on 11 years ago. I was so excited to get started motorcycling. I'd always wanted a bike. I lived when I was a kid at my dad's house, and I just couldn't really ever convince him to let me get a motorcycle when I lived there. He was like, if you get a bike, I'm not going to let you live here. Like, don't ever get a motorcycle. So I had to wait until I got a job and my own place and all that, and got my first bike. So I was about 22 years old when I first started riding, and so pretty young, and I was just so pumped. I was so excited. Every chance I got, I would go and jump on my first bike, which was a Yamaha R3. One thing I remember feeling that nobody told me about was on that first motorcycle, they were like, oh, it's a 321cc, it's a beginner bike. I'm not gonna lie, that thing felt pretty fast. It honestly did feel pretty fast to me. As time went on, it started to feel not so fast, and I got used to it. But at first, that first month or two, it actually did feel kind of quick. I remember feeling a lot of excitement, but combined with some of that self-doubt. I had a lot of things happen in my first year of riding, and I kind of tell people that, in that first season, you can expect to have a lot of butt-puckering moments, a lot of situations where you don't know what you don't know, and things happen, and you might not realize that you're doing the wrong inputs or doing something incorrectly, and then the whole thing happens where your self-doubt goes up, and then you start getting really concerned. But the thing is that competence is going to be bred over time. You just got to stay in the saddle, continue riding, and eventually those feelings will subside a little bit. In your first riding season, one of the more inevitable things that's going to happen is you will drop your bike. I can almost guarantee you that's going to happen in your first riding season. There are some of you that will get away with it and not have it happen. If you've never dropped a bike, go ahead and comment down below. You must be some sort of rare breed of super squid who just cannot drop their bikes. I still drop bikes from time to time. Honestly, I'll be totally honest and admit it. It still happens to me. And yeah, you can definitely expect to, just be pulling out of the driveway, or the worst that can happen is when you're at a stoplight or something and you just lose your footing. Your foot goes into a little ditch or something, and you're like, no, and it starts tipping over, and then it drops, and you're like, it's just the worst feeling in the world. Just know to accept it and expect it, right? Most drops don't really break too much stuff on your motorcycle, just a couple scratches, maybe a snapped lever. It's more of an embarrassing thing rather than anything else. But man, that first season of riding, it's like there's so much new sensation. Like, you guys see me ride, and I'm a pretty competent motorcyclist. I can just go down the road and talk to you guys, but man, that first season, there's like so much new sensations, like the feeling of seeing just something as simple as like just looking down and seeing the tarmac just whiz by. You're like, whoa, that's like really crazy how fast it's actually going by. It feels so foreign and alien when you first get into this, and you're on the road mixing it up, and there's like cars that you can just reach out and touch. They're so close. You're used to seeing cars in a parking lot, but it's weird whenever you're like, oh, I'm like in traffic. I'm not just like in my bubble, in my cage, trying to, get through traffic. I'm like in this massive sea of cars. And I remember feeling a little overwhelmed the first time I was on the highway and like stop and go traffic on a motorcycle. I was like, I don't really like this feeling. That's why nowadays I try to stick to just back roads, and if I can avoid a really dense, busy highway or busy traffic, I certainly try to. And it's a weird feeling whenever you're first starting out and you're like, wow, like I'm like in this traffic, And for a lot of you out there who are starting out in maybe international markets where you can lane split and there's maybe even more dense traffic than we have here in wide open America, that's really going to come to the fold. You're going to be like tightening lightly just maneuvering and going through all of these different cars, following the corridor. It's a very unique experience, and one of the best feelings is when you realize that traffic doesn't really exist for you. This will happen, you know, again, if you're in a market where you can lane split, you're already going to feel that, but you know, the feeling of watching everybody else be stuck in traffic and you just go right through the front and then take off from the light, oh, there's nothing better, dude. It just feels like the biggest cheat code. It is so nice. But yeah, that first season of riding, you should definitely expect to feel completely obsessed with motorcycles. I think this happens to just about everybody who starts riding a bike. You know, we kind of goof off here on the channel and say, like, people are like, oh, dude, riding is my passion. It's my whole life. And they've been riding for, like, you know, 3 weeks. But it's true. Like, you get so wrapped up in this thing. It's like becomes part of your identity a little bit, and you just get so excited to tell everybody about it. But don't be surprised if people's eyes just kind of glaze over as you try to tell them about your bike or your ride. It's like most people don't really care at all about bikes, and you will learn that over time to kind of keep it to yourself. But in the beginning, you're so excited. You just want to tell everybody about your motorcycle and your motorcycle riding. You're just going to ride every single chance that you get. Gosh, I remember feeling like I just couldn't be on my bike enough. That's what I remember feeling, is like any chance I got, I wanted to be on my motorcycle. And it's just such a lovely way to spend time, you know, just being outside and cruising around and seeing stuff. Your whole world is going to feel totally different. Like, if you've been driving around and now you're going to start riding, the same places you've always driven to or driven through are going to feel so different on a motorcycle. You know, those little roads that you always did, you know, now you're going to notice on a bike, hey, the pavement's actually a little weird here. Oh, I never noticed it, like, smells like this in this area. Or even better, you know, on a bike, there's you know, sometimes you'll go down an elevation then back up and you really notice a big temperature change, or you know, you're carving around a mountain or a hill and that shady side of the hill is colder. It's just, there's so much nice stuff about motorcycling that I'm so excited for you to feel on this first season. I'm so pumped. The other thing you can expect to feel that honestly not a lot of people talk about is a little bit of a sense of an imposter syndrome. Because you just started riding motorcycles, and like I said, you don't know what you don't know. You're getting into the hobby, getting into the lifestyle. You know, it's going to be to the point where you're going to meet other riders, maybe do a couple group rides, and you're going to feel like you're just like, oh, I have no idea what I'm doing, and all these other people are so much more capable than I am on a motorcycle, and you know, I'll never be as cool as them and all that sort of thing. Like, I remember my first year where I was on the Yamaha R3, and it was my first beginner bike. It was a 321cc little starter bike, right? Anybody that had like a leader bike, I'd be like, oh my God, they have a 200 horsepower motorcycle. That's so crazy, you know? Like, wow, like they're riding this super fast bike, and I couldn't wait to like upgrade and get to it, you know? But you really shouldn't rush it. You know, that's something I would tell you too, is this first season, just soak it all up, man. Don't think too much about how you're going to get this next bike, or you're going to, you know, go out and, you know, buy something else and it's, oh, this is my stepping stone motorcycle. You know, your first bike, no matter what it is going to hold such a special place in your heart. It really will. Like, any first bike you get is just going to feel like the coolest thing you've ever owned, and you're so excited about it. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, it could be a dumpy little Ninja 250 that you picked up for $600 on Facebook Marketplace, and you had to replace the carb within the first week of owning it. But you will always love that little bike, no matter what your first bike is. Every time I see a red Yamaha R3, a first generation bike, it just tugs at my heartstrings, and I think, I had so much fun on that little bike when I started. I had such a good time, and I loved every minute of it, you know. And sometimes I wish I kept it for longer. You know, I think I put like 16,000 miles on that first R3, which is almost mind-boggling to think I rode that much in such a short amount of time. I really was riding like every single day I possibly could. My butt did not leave that saddle very much at all. That first bike's just gonna feel so special, and you're always gonna think that too, no matter what it is. It doesn't really matter what that first bike is. Those memories will be cherished for the rest of time. One thing you'll start noticing on your first season of riding too is, you know, there's sensations that will feel pretty scary at first, and then you'll kind of like scratch your head and think, I can't believe that feels like normal to me, and I don't really even care at all, you know? Like, if you're cruising along down the road here and, you know, you just like put your foot down and feel your foot just skidding along the pavement at 50 miles an hour, you know, that at first you'll be like, that's insane, why would I do that? But then it just, I don't know, it feels pretty normal. Like nowadays too, since I've gone racing and gotten pretty good at riding on track, you know, the feeling of like putting my knee down and getting my elbow down as well. I remember the very first time I got my knee down, it was in 2016, and oh my god, it was the coolest feeling in the world. I just wanted to keep touching my knee all the time. I was like, I feel so cool, I'm dragging my knee, this is so sick. It was such a cool feeling. And now it's just like the most normal thing for my knee to just skate across the ground, and I use it as a gauge, you know, when I'm riding on track. I don't think I've ever dragged the knee on street, which is kind of funny. You'd think that me of all people would have at some point dragged the knee on street, but I never have, I don't think. And you know, these sensations that are so strange at first, all of a sudden over time will just feel totally normal. Well folks, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I really hope that 2026 is the year you go and start riding your first bike. Drop me a comment down below on your first season of riding, how you felt, if this is your second season, if you're looking forward to this being your first. We love this time of year because we see a lot of new riders coming into the channel and coming into motorcycling, and I love addressing the needs of the beginner rider. It's definitely one of my favorite parts about running this channel. And if you want to support the show, head over to GameDave.com and become a member. You can join our Discord server. It's like a bike night that never ends. You can hang out with a bunch of other like-minded motorcyclists. And as a little thank you to you, we give away motorcycles on there. So this beautiful Verde Legnano that you've seen here, this Moto Guzzi color, is up for grabs. So check it out on the website. Go and support the show. Thank you so much for checking it out. I'll catch you on the next one. See you later.